Mm. All right. Hello and welcome to Modern Sacred Life. Today we are going to. Hello and welcome to Modern Sacred Life. Today we're going to talk about amino acids, keys to health, mind, and performance. And the little synopsis for this class is discover the secret superheroes of your body craves, amino acids. In this class, we'll explore how these powerful little protein builders boost your mood, sharpen your mind, and energize your day. Whether you're already an amino aficionado or just wondering why protein gets all the hype, you'll learn practical tips for harnessing amino acids to elevate your health, productivity, and overall wellness. And if you haven't been to one of my classes before, these are about an hour. Sometimes I've run a little over, sometimes they're a little short, but they're about an hour. And I chose Michelangelo's David because classically he's designed one out of marble, so he's a statue. But I think of marble as building blocks, maybe from like very fancy building blocks, which is also what amino acids are. And he also is very muscular, which is what muscle requires a lot of protein to build and repair and also create energy. So we'll keep moving forward. This is just a little disclaimer. I'm going to read it out loud for those of you that are just listening. Again, if you haven't been to one of my classes before, I do read everything that's on the slide, but then in addition, I add some additional points so that you not only know what I'm saying in case you can't read it because the font is too small, but you're unable to read it because you're driving in a motor vehicle or doing work around the house or something like that. So that being said, sometimes I do reference pictures on the screen, but I will let you know when I'm referencing pictures on the screen. So this is the disclaimer. This video and class are for educational purposes only and do not constitute medical advice. Participation is voluntary and at your own risk. The instructor and content of this class do not replace medical examination, diagnosis, or treatment. By choosing to participate, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health and well-being and assume all risks associated with this practice. You agree to release the creator, producer, instructor, participants, and distributors from any liability for loss, injury, damage, or death arising from your participation in this class or video. Please perform your own due diligence and research before implementing any practice or remedy discussed here. Now, because this is amino acids, it's mostly going to be focused around diet and potentially supplementation if that's the route that you choose. But I'm just I'm just providing information, and if this resonates, great. If it doesn't resonate, that's okay too, because at the end of the day, it is educational, and the idea is to just help you make more empowered decisions around your own health and wellness. Okay, so on the agenda for today, I'm going to do a brief introduction of me and what my credentials are. Then we're going to go into what amino acids are, the types of amino acids, food sources and supplements, benefits, and any questions. And let's see, we're going to cover a lot in a short amount of time. So you may want to take notes or maybe pause the video and do an oral dictation or something like that. Especially once we get into the list of amino acids and it talks about all the different benefits that they have. I don't want you to get overwhelmed because it is a lot of information, but the most important thing is to eat enough protein. Having at least a small serving of protein with every meal is a great start. Or if you're not a big protein eater, like me for a while, I was not a super big protein eater just because it was hard for my body to digest. I will talk about this later, but I'm a blood type A, and we tend to have weaker stomach acid and don't produce enough enzymes to help break down those proteins, so we can't absorb them as well. And the other thing is that um, B vitamins are necessary for a lot of the assimilation, the digestion, assimilation, and use of amino acids. And type A don't necessarily like they tend to be deficient in B12, which we won't talk about, but all the B vitamins as a whole kind of like I just think of them like a big family and they all kind of work together. So um, anyway, after incorporating more B vitamins and more protein into my diet, I have seen dramatic improvements. So I'm just sharing my experience. Whatever works for you is great. I'm a big proponent of self experimentation to see what works best. Obviously, do that within reason, within your budget, within your health um, capacity, and should be good. All right. Um, then we'll do food sources and supplements, and then we'll go into the benefits of amino acids. And then if you have any questions, this is a recording, so you can just leave them in the comment section below, or you can send me an email. Happy to talk to you at any time, obviously within reason. I'm not going to be responding back to you at like 2 a.m. All right, so here's a little, wrong way. Right. About me, my name is Jessica. I am a natural health educator. So at the end of last year, I graduated from the first year of a 4-year program to be a naturopathic doctor at the Naturopathic Institute of Therapies and Educations in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. I'm also a licensed massage therapist, a clarity breathwork practitioner, although I'm realizing that I've kind of gotten out of practice because it's been 5 years, 6 years since I've done that training. Um, so if you do have questions about that, just know that I might be a little bit rusty. I'm also a 500-hour advanced yoga teacher. I'm an upledger craniosacral practitioner. And again, this is just a bunch of courses that I've taken. I don't necessarily practice these things on or with other people on a daily basis. So, just for your own edification, if you're working with someone who maybe doesn't maybe isn't as transparent as I am about my levels of certification and then how much I've interacted with those things. Sometimes people maybe haven't had the educational background, but they've had the practical experience, and sometimes people have had that educational background, but not the practical experience. And then there's, of course, everything in between those two sides of the spectrum. So it's always important to ask what people's credentials are and just know um, basically what their values are around educating and what their main intent is. I know I've already said this, but my goal is that you feel more empowered to make decisions around your own health and wellness. Um, Not everyone has that as their main goal. I want you to feel confident enough in this information that you're able to not only implement it in your own life, but also share it with other people and be able to know that you don't know everything, but also feel confident enough that you can share what you do know and I'm losing the words. Share what you do know, but also do continued research based on what information you do have. Um, I am the director of marketing at Bank of the Bluegrass and Trust Co. I love my job. I love my coworkers. It's great. Um, and I have a BFA in graphic design. So both of those things go to say that sometimes um, I have a little bit more of a hey, I'm going to get really excited and I want you to get really excited about this. And also, sometimes I use very colorful language and also visuals to present ideas. So I just, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're maybe a little bit of a stretch, but again, just pick what resonates with you and leave the rest. All right, so let's get started. What are amino acids? You can think of amino acids as your body's raw materials. They're vital to both your mental and physical health. Um, they are essentially building blocks of proteins, and that's why I chose the little Lego image to the left. There are 20 amino acids. 9 are essential, meaning you must get them from your diet, and 11 are non essential, meaning the body can make them. They are within the non-essential, there are 3 that are sometimes essential that you have to get from your diet because in times of stress, the body can't produce them, but we'll talk about that. They are key to energy, brain function, and mood and overall health. And their roles are to build and repair tissue, make enzymes and neurotransmitters, and they're also an energy source. And a little fun fact, if you got rid of all the water and everything else in your body, 75% of the material in your body is amino acids. So it does make up a high portion of your body, obviously after water. All right, so I am showing a picture now. This is a molecular model of L-arginine. And I don't know, it's just really pretty to me how all these different pieces kind of fit together to make, um, I would call it a beautiful sculpture. In the next slide, I'll show you some more diagrams of the different amino acids, but this is like the basis of what we're looking at, and like this is the basis of what's building your body, which is really cool that something so small that looks like this can end up manifest like being um, folded and combined with other things to make a whole human being. All right. So the types of amino acids, I mentioned this before, but there's essential that you must eat. And examples of this are lysine and tryptophan, which we'll talk about more. And they support muscles, immunity, things like that. Conditionally essential, those are the ones that I was saying they're sometimes needed, especially during stress and illness, which, of course, an illness is usually caused by stress, but can also add additional stress to the body. Glutamine is an example of that. And then non-essentials. So non-essentials the body can produce, and examples are alanine and glycine. And if you pause and want to look at the video to the right, there's a bunch of different models for how the different amino acids look. All right. All of the roughly 40,000 unique proteins in the human body are built using just 20 amino acids, known as proteogenic amino acids. It's interesting. If you haven't used Zoom before, or Canva, or I'm sure there's a better platform for this. So if you all know of one that's better for presenting online, this one is interesting because I have my notes that I want to cover, but in order to view the notes, I can't be presenting within. It's kind of wonky. But if you have any recommendations of different software to use for presenting, I am all ears and I would be happy to switch platforms. Software. So let's talk about the essential amino acids. And in the picture on the left are some examples of food sources for amino acids. So essential amino acids are arginine, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. They must be obtained from diet, and their roles are mood stabilization, brain health, stress resilience, and physical energy. The way that I remember this list is a hill, mount, TVP. So it's basically, I messed up when I made this little acronym for them. And I forgot phenylalanine, and so I had to put it at the end. But a hill, mount, TVP is the first letter of each of those. That's only if you feel like you want to remember them. It was helpful for me when I was tested. So after the essential amino acids that you have to get from diet, there are conditionally essential amino acids that you sometimes have to get from your diet when your body's under high stress and illness. These are cysteine, glutamine, and taurine. They support detoxification, immune response, and mental clarity during stress. And we'll talk about those a little bit more later on. And then the non-essential amino acids are alanine, aspartic acid, asparagine. Yes, it is included in asparagus. Carnitine, cysteine. So you notice that on the last slide, there was one called cysteine. Cysteine it's Cysteine. And you may have heard of a supplement called N-acetylcysteine, which is a little bit more complex version of cysteine that helps support the body's detoxification. Cysteine is made from cystine. Um, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But anyway, cystine is a non-essential amino acid. GABA, glutamic acid, glycine, ornithine, proline, serine, theanine, and tyrosine. That is a mistake at the bottom of this slide. They don't have to be obtained from the diet. The body produces them all on its own. All right. So let's talk about amino acids and the brain. So amino acids influence neurotransmitters, which are essentially how the brain communicates with, it's like brain's communication system, which includes neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which is GABA is interesting because it is both a neurotransmitter and an amino acid. So you might have heard of serotonin. That's our helps with connection, helps with sleep, helps with mood regulation. Dopamine is the reward, so it gives us that really good feeling when we've done something that I don't know. I think of it like the happy dance when you eat a treat, or like when you finally eat a snack, or the brain chemistry that kind of like lights up when you see fireworks or something that's exciting and rewarding. And a more long-term one is if you're working on a more challenging project and the that feel good feeling that you get from completing a difficult task, that's dopamine helps with that. So the amino acid tryptophan helps produce serotonin, which is the happiness chemical, which also helps with mood and sleep. The amino acid tyrosine converts into dopamine and adrenaline for focus and motivation, and adrenaline obviously for energy. I feel like a lot of people are familiar with adrenaline. Glutamic acid and GABA are for calm and mental clarity. And basically, the amino acids help balance effects of mood, cognition, and stress levels. And then in my notes, I wrote cognitive function and productivity. Good brain chemistry equals stable mood, better decisions, and increased productivity. All right, health and wellness benefits. So I'm going over this before I go into the big long list of going through each individual amino acid, just so that you have an idea of like setting the stage of what you can expect from the support of these essential building blocks of the body. So you can expect cognitive performance, better memory, focus with adequate protein, better memory and focus with adequate protein. Mood, a stable mood, less anxiety, that's supported by tryptophan, etc. We'll go through the different ones that offer more of that. Stress resilience, tyrosine and others aid in stress adaptation and energy. Amino acids can be used as fuel, and they also help repair tissue and reduce fatigue. All right, so now let's get into the big long list of all 20 amino acids. And I don't know if you can pause and like zoom in and see my little like emoji cheat sheets. There's a lot of amino acids, and trying to remember all the details of each can be a lot, but I put little emojis next to them to represent what the amino acid is all about. So alanine. When I think of alanine, I think of Alan off of the Barbie movie. So he's strong, he's a male, and he's sweet. So with alanine, there's the highest concentration in muscles. It also serves as an alternate source of glucose from the liver, and it has function in prostate health. Arginine. Arginine helps. Arginine you have to be careful with because it can cause herpes outbreaks. Um, it can prevent clotting without increasing the risk of a hemorrhagic stroke. So there's also a little blood droplet. Um, it is produced, it helps support. Hold on one second. Looking at this, and all I wrote was anterior pituitary. Oh, it's secreted by the anterior pituitary, and it can increase sexual enhancement, and it has sexual enhancement as a benefit. Hence the little peach and eggplant emojis. Asparagine is for brain and bone health. So central nervous system, it helps the central nervous system for proper functioning and biochemical balance in the brain. It can also modulate acute leukemia and is good for people with a history of melanoma. Aspartic acid is a little lightning bolt and knitting yarn. It's an excitatory amino acid, meaning that it stimulates the body. There are others that will be that slow down, and this one speeds up. So it's great for cellular energy. It supports the thymus gland, which is one of the master glands of the immune system. And if you have a deficiency, it can cause irregularities of certain neurotransmitters. But one of the most beneficial things about it, hence why I have the knitter portion, is it helps with absorption of minerals in the gut wall. So then we have isoleucine, which I put little beans for chronic renal failure because the kidneys are shaped like little kidney beans, hence why kidney beans are named kidney beans. If you have a deficiency in isoleucine, it can cause chronic renal failure. It can also cause deficiencies can also cause dizziness, headaches, fatigue, depression, confusion, and irritability. Leucine is a knife, a piece of candy, and someone who is using a cane to walk. So it's indicated after surgery, traumas, sepsis, wounds, and diabetes because it helps with repairing with tissue repair. It stimulates insulin production and helps with blood sugar regulation. And it can help improve the symptoms for Parkinson's patients. So again, if you know people that are having these issues with these particular things, like basically we're going to end up covering the majority of what people experience when their health is not going well. And that's what one of the book that I read, it's called The Healing Nutrients Within by Dr. Eric Braverman. He talks about how basically if there's a drug for it, if I'm quoting, we have learned that if a drug can be found to do the job of medical healing, a nutrient can be found to do the same job. And amino acids have fewer and milder side effects. And I love that perspective. It's called imitatio corporis, which is imitation of the body in Latin. And in the practice of medicine, it's wise to imitate the body's natural healing mechanisms. And regardless of your spiritual beliefs or, whatever your orientation is to spirituality or a higher power, respect for God's mysterious harmonies in the foundation of health and of a physical morality is so vital in and having self-respect and taking care of our bodies. A little digression before we move on to more amino acids. But okay, so now we're going to talk about valine. Valine is vital for muscle health and people who are living with alcoholism or are addicted to drugs. So basically, addictions of any kind usually have a deficiency in valine. It's also deficiencies are in degenerative neurological disorders, and it is indicated in trauma and burns because it helps speed up the healing. Carnitine is a block of cheese in the heart. It's synthesized from lysine and methionine in the liver, kidney, and brain. And deficiency symptoms include impaired fat metabolism. It can also help with lipid accumulation in the skeletal muscle, heart muscle, and liver. So, people with fatty liver, people who are having heart issues or like fat buildup in the heart, and people who have just noticed that, oh my God, like I'm just my fat content seems to be higher. Carnitine is really good. And bodybuilders know this. So if you go into a store like Vitamin Shop or maybe GNC, I'm not necessarily recommending the products that they have, but you could go and look at some of like the pre-workout and post-workout and the different protein shakes and see kind of what their makeup is and see if they offer any of these amino acids as additional supplements within those products to help support the body in a different way. Carnitine also helps regulate fat burning, and it's necessary for normal cardiac function. Cysteine has I made like a little radioactive tower, a ring, a bee, someone blowing their nose, and a pill. So this is cysteine with an E, and it's a sulfur containing amino acid. There are only 4 amino acids that are sulfur containing, and cysteine is one of them. It binds to heavy metals for removal. It is protection against radiation exposure. It's necessary for the utilization of B6, which we'll talk about this more later, but you need B6 in order to properly assimilate the amino acids. Cysteine is a precursor for, or is part of N-acetylcysteine, also known as NAC, which helps with mucus and sinus drainage. So if you're noticing that you have a lot of mucus buildup in your lungs or your upper respiratory system, nose, sinuses, that sort of thing, or even like you can get a buildup of mucus in the digestive tract too, from eating excess dairy, and eating cold stuff during cold seasons. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can cause mucus buildup, but N-acetylcysteine can help support the body in breaking that down and moving it out of the body. N-acetylcysteine is a precursor to glutathione, which is another antioxidant. I talk about glutathione in another class called, I think it's Nourishing the Cell. So if you're interested in more foods that have a high amount of glutathione in it, it's basically it's the cruciferous vegetables, which if you see sulfur containing cruciferous vegetables smell like sulfur. Sulfur smells like rotten eggs. I mean, actually, that's what causes the rotten egg smell, I think, is the sulfur. It's what causes, like, it creates that orange color in eggs. And then, but anything that's going to be sulfur containing is also going to be like really good at detoxifying the body. Um, and cysteine is also used to treat acetaminophen, which is also known as Tylenol poisoning. Tylenol is the brand name, no affiliation. This is neither here nor there. But if someone has taken too much acetaminophen, cysteine can help detox that out. Cysteine is a bone, a purse, a piece of candy, someone fluffing their hair, and vitamin C. So, cysteine is great for the connective and skeletal tissue, digestive enzymes, insulin, and keratin. So, digestive enzymes, the purse is like the stomach. Um, Insulin was the candy, hair keratin. So, connective tissue is going to be blood, it's going to be your cartilage, it's going to be your joints, it's going to be what gives your skin its elasticity and things like that. So, um, without vitamin C, cysteine converts to cystine. I think I said that backwards earlier. Oh, yes. Yes. So I did not say it backwards earlier. Cysteine combines with vitamin C to create cysteine. Again, why they named those so close together, I don't know, but hopefully, I don't know, hopefully some of this is at least helpful to you. All right, now we're on to GABA. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter, so I put a little stop sign, like you shall not pass. Brain and a turtle. It's found throughout the central nervous system because it is a neurotransmitter and it's present in 40 to 50% of brain synapses. And it helps the brain to slow down. So, someone with ADD or ADHD who has, or someone who's having trouble focusing or different things like that, um, GABA can help calm the mind and slow down the system so that you can actually focus a little bit better. It's great for pain, stress, panic, anxiety, depression, and stress-induced illnesses. And then we're on to glutamic acid. And that is, I put a toilet and a heart. So glutamic acid is a brain ammonia detoxifier. So sometimes when this is my understanding of it, you might want to do your own research on it. Basically, if the kidneys get clogged and backed up, the body, the ammonia can end up in the brain. And ammonia is just a byproduct of some of the different chemical reactions within the body. And most of us know ammonia from like the smell of Windex or like window cleaner, um, or sometimes very strong in the morning. It'll come from the urine smell. But that can be in the brain and it can cause different things to happen. I feel like it's one of the things that causes like brain fog. I don't know for sure, but that's kind of my experience with it. Um, Schizophrenic, people suffering people living with schizophrenia, epileptic seizures, gout, may be deficient in glutamic acid. And again, like gout is a buildup of acid. I'm going to pause and stop myself because sometimes my brain doesn't remember all of the things in clear detail, and I don't want to tell you something wrong. But basically, in health, once you start learning all the different things, you can see how all the different pieces kind of play into one another. So if you look into ammonia and the gout condition and what it does in the body, you can kind of like it makes more sense of why these different elements, especially since it protects against heart muscle deterioration, like how all these different elements kind of play into each other. And you're like, oh, duh, this is why this would be helpful. So we don't have time to go into all that. Um, Glutamine is great for the blood, the brain, and the blood brain barrier. So I did blood, brain, and bubbles because bubbles create like a little shield container. So basically, there's a barrier between the blood and the brain so that not everything that's in the blood can get into the brain. Now, sometimes this barrier can um, be decreased by different things like different solvents can break down the blood-brain barrier, which obviously it's in the name solvents break down, um, they dissolve barriers. So it wouldn't make sense that they would have that effect in the brain. But glutamine is the third most abundant amino acid in the blood and brain. It's a precursor for GABA, which we talked about earlier, the inhibitory neurotransmitter that's also a amino acid. Glutamine crosses the blood-brain barrier where it increases energy and mental alertness. Its most important function is strengthening the immune system, and it decreases systemic infections by up to 80%, which, holy moly, that's a ton. Um, Glutamine is a really great one to supplement, even if you're not taking any of the other ones. Like this one, I did this because I got diagnosed with MS in 2020, and I had a lot of systemic infections going on. My immune system was not functioning properly. My body wasn't detoxing well. And so I started with taking glutamine to help build up my body. And it's taken me about, I want to say like a year and a half, at least a year to get to return back to not only my original state of health prior to having my previous flare, but also have better energy too on top of that. So just from my own experience, glutamine was really helpful, especially at the beginning. I didn't take it long term. I maybe took it for like 2 to 3 months, but it was really helpful. Glycine. Glycine is sweet, so I put a hot of honey. It's got a little lightning bolt, an eyeball, a ring, and a lollipop. Glycine is sweet to the taste and can be used as a sweetener. So you might see it sometimes in certain food products that they say that they have glycine, and it's an amino acid that's sweet. It triggers the brain cells to fire electric charges and speed learning. It's great for people suffering from spasticity and seizures, which potentially could be caused by not having enough sugar. So the body is convulsing and cramping. Which brings me to my next point of convulsions and retinal functions. And everyone, excuse me, The kidneys and the eyes are really strongly connected. So if you're having issues with, oh, excuse me, I was thinking renal and retinal. Um, but kidneys also help regulate blood sugar. So if your blood sugar isn't stable where it needs to be, it can affect the retina of the eyes. Um, Glycine also helps remove heavy metals and it can decrease cravings for sugar. All right, histidine has a little chick. Um, it's a little baby chick, a hot dog, and a rope nodding. It's I chose histidine because it's required in large amounts for infants. That's why there's a little baby chick. Histidine is the precursor for histamine. Histamine is involved in a lot of different reactions in the body. It's most commonly known in an allergic response. So the immune response, inflammatory response, help the body produce more mucus in order to protect it from outside pathogens. Um, it is vasodilating, meaning it opens up the blood vessels and it has mild anti-inflammatory properties, again, to help um, keep the body from, well, histidine, to help keep the body from like overdoing it on the histamine, like when people have like anaphylactic shock and things like that, where the response is too high. If you have a chance, I would definitely recommend looking up the histamine pathway in the stomach and how it plays a role in the mucus production in the stomach lining. It's really cool. And like then just seeing how taking an antihistamine can actually end up affecting your digestion. So if you are on antihistamines chronically, like, and you're noticing that you're not digesting things as well, that could be something to look into. Okay. And it's necessary, histidine is also necessary for the maintenance of the myelin sheath, which is, I think of it like a chain of little hot dogs, sausages in a row. Like it's the fatty, um, it's protein and fats that protect and insulate the nerve cells in the central nervous system. Lysine. Lysine has a little, I'm going to call it bacteria, but it's meant to be a virus. Um, Milk, a glass of milk, and a little patched up heart. So lysine reduces the incidence of herpes outbreaks. So if you notice that you have cold sores or herpes zoster, which also is known as shingles, or um, basically mono, um, Epstein-Barr virus, and anything that is herpes related or even viral related. I'm gonna go out on a stretch there and say viral related. Lysine is going to be great for that. Um, it stimulates the absorption of calcium, hence a glass of milk. It reduces calcium loss, such as in osteoporosis, and it can help with the growth and repair of muscle tissues. Methionine. Methionine has a little tower, a ring, a little pill, and a flower. It is one of the sulfur containing amino acid. It protects from radiation. It can help detox heavy metals. It stimulates the formation of glutamine. Again, another antioxidant to clean out the body. It neutralizes toxins and it's great in the use of acetaminophen and methotrexate poisoning, and it can help lower histamine levels. So methionine and histidine together can help people. In theory, based on my understanding, it can help people with a lot of allergy issues. Glycine as well, because glycine can help repair the lining of the gut. So I don't know if I had allergies or stronger allergies, those are the ones that I would be taking. Um, Probably at least for 3 months just to see. Okay, next we're going to go on to ornithine. Ornithine has a little toilet, a band-aid, and a power lifter. It's involved in metabolism of ammonia and its removal, much like the other um, amino acid that had the little toilet, which was glutamic acid. It stimulates release of growth hormones and supports wound healing and promotes liver regeneration. Athletes often combine with arginine and carnitine to stimulate muscle mass while decreasing body fat. So, again, if you go into one of those health stores, they're probably going to have this particular combination of arginine, carnitine, and ornithine. And it helps stimulate the human growth hormone. Phenylalanine, for some reason, does not have any little emojis next to it. They must not have copied over. Phenylalanine converts to tyrosine in the liver, and tyrosine can help with, I think it's focus. Phenylalanine supports the formation of T4 or thyroxine, which is one of the thyroid hormones. It helps give a positive, uplifting effect on mood, alertness, and ambition. This is phenylalanine, and helps increase the level of norepinephrine in the brain. Norepinephrine in the brain, which is a neurotransmitter. Okay, we're almost finished. We have 2 more pages of this. So, proline is a person getting a little massage, like a little facial, and a vitamin and a lemon for vitamin C. So, proline is required for the formation of collagen plus vitamin C. It can be manufactured from ornithine or glutamic acid. Serine has a little elderly person with gray hair. Serine can help enhance the function of the aging brain. Phosphatidylserine, which is what is most likely to see on the shelves in I'm going to say drugstores. I meant like Vitamin Shop and things like that if you're in the United States. Phosphatidylserine improved several cognitive, and Lord have mercy, there have been tests done on phosphatidylserine and how it improves cognitive function, including the earliest stage of Alzheimer's. So phosphatidylserine has phosphorus and serine within a capsule to help promote, like to help with brain health. Phosphorus is kind of like, it's called the light bearer element, and it helps basically like helps create the little light bulb moments in your brain. It's essential for healthy cognitive functioning or being able to think. Taurine has a child, a circle with a slash saying to stop, a heart, a brain, and a lightning bolt for energy. So taurine has 4 times concentration in the developing brain. So children really need taurine. It's an inhibitory amino acid that also contains sulfur. It's the most concentrated amino acid in the heart, and it modulates heart muscular contractility, basically heartbeats. Theanine has a little, I tried to get like a cup of green tea. It kind of looks not like that, but a cup of green tea. In 1949, Japanese chemists discovered L-theanine from green tea leaves. It is, it helps with GABA creation. So GABA is its own amino acid, but L-theanine also creates it, just like methionine can help with the production of glutathione. I think I'm saying that right. Just going back to check my notes. Yes. So there is some overlap as they all help with creating each other, but that's why there's essential and non-essential. All right. Threonine. Threonine has a little purse for the digestive tract, a tooth, heart, brain, strong muscle, and leafy vegetable. So threonine is required for proper digestion, intestinal tract, and intestinal tract function. It's the only amino acid that is involved in the formation of collagen, elastin, and tooth enamel. There aren't very many things that help with tooth enamel. Calc fluor is a cell salt that helps with tooth enamel, and threonine, which is an amino acid that helps with tooth enamel. So if you're having a lot of teeth issues, threonine and calc fluor. With threonine, the highest concentrations are found in the heart, the central nervous system, and skeletal muscles. So pretty big, like the big three. Obviously, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know um, how much of a firm believer I am in everything has to be working optimally and functioning well from the tiniest cell to the biggest organ, like the skin. So all of it is important, all of it is necessary, all of it needs to be working in harmony with one another. But in this case, threonine helps support the heart, central nervous system, and skeletal muscles, which really end up doing so much for the entire body. And the veggies, vegans are at the highest risk of deficiency for threonine. Um, a lot of what I've seen regarding eating vegan is not positive. It does not support veganism. I apologize to all you vegans out there. It's just not sustainable. Um, Almost all of the cultures, like indigenous cultures, have some form of eating animal byproducts, whether it be bloodletting or um, even something as little as like dairy or milk products, lard, things like that from animals. It's just to provide like a very well-rounded, calorically dense. You gotta think about it, like some of the animals that are strictly vegan animals, they have very vastly different anatomy. So the idea of like our bodies, which in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, our bodies, which are very much designed to eat all the different foods, both vegetables and meat and dairy. Um, some bodies better than others, but why I get the mental aspect of it, but also like sometimes you have to do things in order to support your health and well-being. Um, just throwing it out there, like if you don't have great energy levels, if you're not detoxing well, and if you're cold all the time and you're practicing vegan, it could be because your body is malnourished. So just consult a nutritionist, do some of your own research, maybe eat a burger. I don't know. Um, just some options to throw it out there. All right, last two. Last two. Tryptophan is a turkey. It's someone yawning in a bed. Tryptophan is a precursor for serotonin. You won't typically find a tryptophan supplement. It's usually known as 5-HTP, which we'll talk about earlier. Tryptophan is a precursor for serotonin. It's also a precursor for DMT, which we do have in the brain, and serotonin, I think, also converts into melatonin. Don't quote me on that. Look that up before. Um, anyway, the body will convert different hormones into different things based on what our body needs at the time. I'm pretty sure serotonin can convert into melatonin at night. Serotonin helps us feel calm, relaxed, and in control. It's capable, tryptophan is capable of passing the blood-brain barrier, and combining tryptophan with tyrosine in doses of 300 milligrams per day at bedtime can mimic the effects of most antidepressants. So just going back to what Eric Braverman and the Pfeiffer's Law saying about if there's some sort of drug or pharmaceutical that does something, there's probably something natural that does it too. This is potentially a natural antidepressant. Now, just a caveat warning, if you are on an antidepressant currently, an MAOI inhibitor, no, an SSRI, or anyway, you know if you're on an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication because it interacts with a lot of different drugs. You don't want to supplement with 5-HTP and tyrosine because it can have negative impacts on your body. It can cause serotonin syndrome, which is very dangerous. And two, it can destabilize your serotonin levels. So if you're going to try this, you need to wean off your existing antidepressant and switch over to this, which, obviously work with your healthcare provider on doing something like that because that can be very jarring for the body. Um, anyway, last but not least, tyrosine is a frowny face, a little sprout, the brain and the heart. It can be made from phenylalanine. Dr. Jellenberg, who I think was at Harvard, did research at Harvard, determined that tyrosine is more effective than antidepressants for the relief of depression. Do not take with MAOIs or tricyclic antidepressants if you have schizophrenia or a history of melanoma. I don't know about the melanoma, but schizophrenia has a very delicate balance of serotonin. So does bipolar. So you really want to be mindful if you are on those types of medications and you have some sort of disease or illness that you have to be mindful of your serotonin levels in order to regulate it properly. Anyway, tyrosine can also help with enhanced memory and reduced blood pressure. All right. Yay, we did it. We made it through all of them. We're almost finished. So, food sources of proteins. Now, like I said before, there's 20 amino acids. Most what a complete protein is has all 20 amino acids. And amino acids provide brain resilience and can help you handle high pressure environments. Sorry, that was in my notes and doesn't quite make sense. So anyway, at this moment, complete proteins are things like meat, fish, eggs, dairy, soy, bone broth, gelatin, lots of options there that contain all the essential amino acids. Incomplete proteins are things like beans, grains, nuts. Honestly, most foods do have a certain amount of protein in them, but their ratio is different. So you want to aim for a balanced diet, mix with plant proteins or use animal proteins. And then I added more animal proteins with our fish and bone broth. And some plant sources for protein are spirulina, nuts, chlorella, algae, bee pollen. The algae could be also the blue-green. I do have notes from the healing nutrients within. He was breaking it down and saying meats are 20 to 30% usable protein. So that's actually like a decent amount to be 20 to 30% usable protein, ranging from lamb at the bottom at the 20% and turkey at the top at 30%. Soybean flour is 40% protein. So heck yeah, vegans, vegetarians, soybean flour is great. Most cheeses are 30 to 35% protein. Many nuts and seeds range between 20 and 30% protein. And peas, lentils, and dried beans are between 20 and 25% protein. Whole grains contain a fairly small quantity of protein at 12%, but so do milk, which is only 4%. Milk is mostly fat and only 4% protein, and eggs are 13% protein. That's actually usable. So you want to make sure that you're going for both quality and quantity to be considered. Anyone who's had to count their macros would know this, but consider your source. Real foods are going to be better than the processed foods, but if you're in a pinch and you need to, like I've been having to supplement with protein powder because otherwise I just can't eat enough protein during the day because I am not a big eater. I wish I was more. I'm working on that, but the point being is like you've got to meet yourself where you're at and make sure that you're doing what works best for you. So with supplements, you're gonna want and with choosing your protein, you're gonna want to look at what your blood type is to see what works best for you. So like O's have really strong stomach acid, typically speaking, and they're gonna do great with eating a lot of different meats. A's are on the opposite end of the spectrum. They like according to the blood type diet, they do better with soy. I am allergic to soy. So, or at least I have been in the past. So my body doesn't absorb soy very well, but also the weaker stomach acid, there's only certain like chicken, turkey, fish. Those are good for A's. O's do really well with dairy. So again, like just looking at your blood type and seeing what works best for you. All right. I love that I put bee pollen as a plant source. Bee pollen is not necessarily, it's a combo. It's a combo of plant and animal source. All right, supplementation and recommendations. I've already been going over this, but you want to pair with B6 and magnesium, best to avoid magnesium oxide to help with optimal absorption of your amino acids. According to Dr. Braverman, the like 1, 2, and 3, or at least 2 and 3, B2, B3, that's niacin and riboflavin, I think. Those are going to be the ones that you also want to take with, um, yes, um, they are the next most important vitamins required for amino acid metabolism. So B6, B2, B3, just getting a vitamin B complex would be great. Magnesium, lots of different magnesium options out there now. Highly recommend, or any yellow food, corn, cornmeal, yellow peppers, sweet potatoes, all the yellow foods. Onions are usually high in magnesium. Other useful supplements are BCAAs, the branched chain amino acids. That's they're going to help with muscle energy and mental endurance. And then L-theanine is stress management. That you usually see in like sleep supplements. I'm just double checking something on this branched chain amino acid. I'm trying to remember if it's the isoleucine, leucine, yeah. Branched chain amino acids are the leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Um, and tyrosine, which is not a branched chain amino acid. That's great for cognitive stress. Other supplements, you could do collagen or gelatin. Gelatin is collagen. Um, they're great for recovery and gut health. You could also do bone broth. That's great. You could get a whole list. Nature's Sunshine has carnitine, glutamine, lysine, N-acetylcysteine, GABA plus, 5-HTP, and phenylalanine. You can also do like pure encapsulations or Douglas Laboratories. I've also used, what's the other one that I use? It's not pure encapsulations. Natural Factors. I was like, I can see the logo. Anyway, Natural Factors is another one that I use sometimes. Um, Lots of options. Do look for quality over quantity. Not all brands are created equal. A lot of them have a lot of fillers. Um, another, this is important to stress. You want to make sure that you are taking supplements that are L. So a lot of the times you'll see them as with an L dash arginine, L dash theanine. Sometimes it will say D in front of it. You do not want to take that. The L and D simply refer to the direction of light rotation by the molecules of the amino acid. The L form of an amino acid is from the word laboratory, which rotates to the left, and the D is from the word dextrorotary, which rotates light to the right. So the L form amino acid supplements, aka free form, are the simplest form, and free form amino acids are generally the best for absorption throughout the body and brain. But again, as I've mentioned before, um, supplements can help, but it's best to consult a professional. Um, these are not FDA approved, which take that for what it is. There are some things that are approved by the FDA that I don't consume. Um, So depending on where you stand, you can like take that into consideration. All right. You cannot restore the brain chemistry overnight by megadosing. So you want to take this slow and gradually. However, a good amino acid program can usually begin to show change in the first 21 days, which is really exciting and exactly what I was telling you about with my own experience within this. Um, I it wasn't until I did my research paper on MS that I realized how much of the myelin sheath is actually protein. And then I started adding in additional proteins in lately. And I tell you what, my brain is not 100% back to normal, but it keeps improving every day. So I'm really excited about that. And it's cool to see that all these different things that I'm learning that I'm getting to share with you, how it's impacting my stamina and my mental cognition and my ability to think and process things and motivation and energy levels. Like being able to stay awake all day instead of having like at the worst, I was only able to stay awake for 3 hours at a time. So like obviously I've been doing a lot of other things, but I'm just wanting to show you some encouragement and some hope that if you are having some issues, like there are natural options that you can do to help support your day-to-day health and well-being. Okay, amino acids and stress management. You could take GABA for stress reduction, glycine for sleep quality and reduced anxiety, L-theanine for calm alertness. It's found in the green tea. Tryptophan, which is the 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan. It's easier for the body to absorb and then metabolize into serotonin. It helps reduce anxiety, and tyrosine, which is mental clarity under pressure. Amino acids in the workplace. For high stress jobs, amino acids support neurotransmitters for better focus under pressure, improve mental clarity, and I am going to check my notes. Improve mental clarity and reduce fatigue. It supports emotional balance under stress, can help prevent burnout, maintain muscle and immune function during long hours, enhance cognitive flexibility, which means being able to switch from thoughts to thoughts, and can increase attention span. And practical use, high protein snacks or amino acid rich supplements during busy days can help with performance. Companies investing in nutritional wellness see improved employee satisfaction and productivity. Obviously, this comes with a level of self awareness and reflection. So, if you're overworking yourself, is it because of the strain of the job or thought patterns or just what you've learned in your day? So, like, again, I'm offering these as tools, but also if there's like an underlying maybe mental health condition or something like that that's going on and you're trying these supplements, but it keeps coming back around to the same thing, I would recommend that you look deeper with another professional to help you navigate that because there's probably something a little bit more complex going on. All right. Holistic perspective. So the food mood connection. Good nutrition supports emotional balance. Balanced nutrition strengthens the mind-body connection, promoting inner peace through biochemical balance. Amino acids nourish brain chemistry, enhancing emotional and spiritual well-being. And proper amino acid intake reduces stress, improving mental control and spiritual practices. It's a lot of different ways of basically saying the same thing. Nutrition supports your spiritual practice because you have a clear mind and balanced emotions. And I want to add in that protein, aka amino acids in their more raw form, can help with blood sugar regulation. And when the blood sugar goes through all these different spikes, then the body will end up producing cortisol, which can cause feelings of anxiety. So if your body is constantly trying to work overtime just to modulate blood sugar levels, that's going to cause like mental, emotional imbalances because, I mean, most of us have heard of the term hangry. Hangry is this like you're hungry because you're emotionally off kilter because you need something to eat. Hence why that Snickers commercial is so popular. Hungry? Grab a Snickers. Like that. And honestly, that's excellent marketing, in my opinion. Like they did such a good job with that. Snickers also has protein in it because it has the peanuts, but it does have the sugar in it as well, and it has the additional fats from um, that's in the chocolate and stuff like that. So while it's not the best thing in the world to eat, if you're going to use candy to help, or if you're in a pinch and you need, that's all you have is a bunch of candy, go with a Snickers, go with a peanut butter cup or something like that. That's going to have the protein to help, even though it is going to cause a blood sugar spike, that it'll help like sustain the energy um, and blood sugar levels. And last but not least, thought for this page is that good nutrition isn't just physical care, it can be spiritually empowering. How wonderful is it when you have like this amazing day and you felt emotionally resilient and maybe things didn't go perfectly perfect, but you ate well, you were able to interact with people in the way that you wanted to, like, doesn't that formulate, like, foster a sense of inner peace and help promote self-confidence and self-worth? Like, those are just like, and maybe you've never had that experience, but um, I've heard mixed thoughts on how much protein people are supposed to eat during the day. Um, the thing that I've been trying to do is just to eat like a little bit of protein with each meal. The one in particular, one of the courses in particular by Jasmine Filiatro, she focuses on women's health, particularly for menstruating women, but she has a program called cortisol rehab. And she said starting off the day with 20 grams of protein can help stabilize the sugar for the rest of the day. And it's true, it really does. And it does help with your mood and it helps with your cortisol levels so that by the time you're ready to go to sleep at night, you're actually getting better sleep because your body hasn't been producing cortisol all day and stressing you out. Um, there's also what is it, the glucose queen, I think is her Instagram handle, but she talks about there is a correct way to eat to keep blood sugar from spiking. And so you want to eat um, your green leafy vegetables that are fibrous first, then your proteins, and then your fats, sugars, everything else. And that helps. The order does matter, and that can help keep your blood sugar stable too. And one of the benefits of that is that um, where is this? Oh man, I have another note, and um, it's about how basically if your blood sugar levels are regulated, you don't want to go after those high sugar spikes because your body doesn't need it. Like, much with anything, like if you're constantly putting the body through this roller coaster of stuff, like you're gonna want to eat the things that cause the big spikes for the energy, and then the energy is gonna go down, and you're gonna want to eat another spike. So that's like repeating a pattern in a small way through food. But if you eat protein, you can still eat. I'm saying this. You can still eat the junk. But if you eat it in a different order, see if you still want that junk. See if you notice a difference in how you feel. Do you even crave it anymore because you've shifted your food intake? I don't know. Just thoughts, something to explore on your own. But anyway, nourishing the body nurtures the spirit. I always love to bring in that this holistic approach, because when you nourish the body properly, you're supporting your emotional and mental well-being, which supports your spiritual well-being, and it's a holistic approach, and that's just the most, in my opinion, the most ideal way to live. All right, research highlights. Older adults improved cognitive function after amino acid supplementation. Workers reported decreased stress and fatigue with targeted amino acid intake. And in certain military studies, tyrosine boosts cognitive performance under stress. And some key takeaways: aim for balanced, before I jump in. Anyway, if you can't take my word for it, there are a bunch of research studies out there that show how amino acids have improved the different things that I've already spoken about. So please feel free to go through and look. But key takeaways for today are to aim for balanced protein intake with every meal. Target amino acid supplements strategically for personal needs, and you don't overdo it. Just because you take something right now doesn't mean you're going to have to take it in 3 months. It can cause further imbalances when you do stuff like that. Supplements are to supplement temporarily, not forever. And if you need to reintroduce them again, do it. And then for holistic wellness, amino acids are part of bigger wellness strategy of exercise, sleep, and mindfulness. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll pull up a slide with my email on it in just a moment, but I have just a couple more slides to go through, and then we'll be finished. So thank you so much for coming to my class today. I wanted to let you know that you will be receiving an email in the future asking you to verify your attendance at this class. This is only if you and I have spoken and or emailed regarding this class attendance verification. So if you're watching this after April of 2025, this does not pertain to you at all. The email will be titled, "Please respond, class attendance verification for Jessica Gooden's amino acids, keys to health, mind, and performance." The survey is 5 questions long and should only take you a minute or 2 to complete. Your email address will only be used for the purpose of this survey and will not be shared for any other purpose. So I just wanted to say thank you. Again, for any additional questions, comments, concerns, ahas, oh no's, wins, you can put them in the comments section below, or you can email me at jessicargooden@gmail.com. And then here's my resources. I always like to include these in case people want to look stuff up afterwards. And yeah, I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about amino acids with me, and I will see you next time.